Welcome to another weekly market analysis. In this analysis, I will cover the S&P 500 and also the other indexes in this newsletter post here. Now, in addition to that, in this video, I will also cover the E-mini S&P 500 future contract and also the SPY, the S&P 500 ETF, and also the NQ, the E-mini NASDAQ future contract, as well as the ETF for the NASDAQ 100 QQQ. So be sure to go and read this newsletter. I will have the link in the description below, and you will be able to see a lot of additional contents regarding or getting a better perspective of the market, and also in some of the internal that I also cover in this post here. So in addition to the video, go and read this post on my Substack newsletter, the Pulse of the Market. You're looking at the ES, the E-mini S&P 500 futures. Remember we were talking about this E-mini S&P 500 last week to be looking at this zone here to see would it be able to hold this zone and get a bounce back up to the upper low volume zone here. And we also said that if the ES, the E-mini S&P 500 is unable to hold this low volume zone, then we're basically looking for this to retrace back down to this 5,900 area, and as you can see, the ES, E-mini S&P 500 did retrace back down to this low volume zone. And in addition to that, we are also looking at that it came down and tagged the lower range of the weekly expected move, and furthermore, it also tagged the February lower range of the ES, E-mini S&P 500 lower range of the monthly expected move. And for the coming week, the ES, the E-mini S&P 500, the market is pricing in the upper range somewhere between 6,090 and 6,075, and the lower range is between 5,841 and 5,795. So for the coming week, it is crucial to see that Friday's bounce continue to bounce up toward this 6,000 level and come back to test this low volume zone here and see would it be able to get acceptance and continue to push higher and back into the upper range and possibly come back up to the 6150 area, this low volume zone. Now, if it come up, we get a bounce and it get rejected at this 6050 area, then look for it come back down and possibly retest this 5,900 area once again and move itself down toward this 5,800 area. Now notice this 5,800 area, there's quite a number of support here previously, and also been a sort of resistant area as well before it broke out back here in September of last year, and it came back down and back tested here and back tested here and back tested here. So if it come down next week, we want to see would it be able to successfully back test this zone once again. If it doesn't, and it failed this back test, and we'll be looking for the price to come down to this 5,700 area. So be aware that the zone for the E-mini S&P 500 for the coming week, the critical thing is to see would it be able to hold about this 5,900, and if it doesn't, then we want to see a back test at this 5,800 level and see how well it could hold up. And the ES, E-mini S&P 500 unable to hold this zone, then we'd be looking at the E-mini S&P 500 to come down to the 5,700 level. And for the SPY, the ETF for the S&P 500, we noticed that also it failed to hold this zone here last week, and it came down and moved all the way down to this 586 area and tagged the lower range of the weekly expected move. In addition to that, we also saw that it came down to this February lower range of the expected move here. So right now, we're basically looking at a bounce similarly to the E-mini S&P 500 future. We are looking at the ETF for the S&P 500. The SPY is getting a bounce here, so we want to see would it be able to come back up, get above this 596 in the coming week. And for the coming week, the ETF for the S&P 500, the SPY, the market is pricing in the upper range between 606 and 605 area, and the lower range is between 582.40 and 578. So those are the upper range and lower range. Now, for the SPY, the ETF for the S&P 500, we want to see what to be able to get above this 596 and come back up to this 603 area, and see what it be able to hold and push up to the upper range of the expected move. Now, if we get a rejection anywhere between this 596 here, then we'll be looking for the possibility to come back down to this 586 and retest this area here, to see what it be able to successfully find support once again and bounces back up. If it doesn't, then we're basically looking for this to take out the low volume, take out the lower range of the expected move and possibly work its way down to this high volume zone here, this high volume node near 572, and even possibly work its way toward this low volume node, this low volume zone 564 for the coming week for the SPY, the ETF for the S&P 500. And looking at the NQ, the E-mini NASDAQ 100 futures contract here. Last week, we're looking at this zone here, this 21,600. You can see that it came down to the lower range of the expected move, and it proceeded down to the February lower range of the expected move on Friday. Then after that, it got a little bit of a bounce back up. So right now, it's just trying to come back up to this 21,000 level. So we're going to be watching in the coming week to see what it be able to come back up to, get above the 21,000 level and possibly work its way back up to this 21,600. And for the coming week, the market is pricing in the upper range between 21,525 and 21,436.50. And the lower range is between 20,381.50 and 20,050. So we'd be looking to see would it be able to come up to this upper range here in the coming week for the NQ and possibly push up into this 21,700 area and see would it hold this low volume zone. And if it doesn't and it get rejected, then we'd be looking for the NQ to push down there into the 20,000 level, this low volume zone here, and see would it be able to find support. And if it doesn't, then we are looking for the NQ to work its way down toward the 18,800. For the QQQ, the ETF for the NASDAQ 100, we saw last week that the QQQ also broke this low volume zone, came down, tested the lower range of the weekly expected move. Then on Friday, it dipped into the February lower range of the monthly expected move before it got a bounce back up into the close. And as you can see, it is trying to get back up above this 510 level. So in the coming week, we'll be watching this 510 to see would it be able to get back above this 510 and possibly work itself up back into this 525 area. And for the coming week, the market is pricing in the upper range between 523 and 521.80 and the lower range between 494.60 and 459.50. So what we'll be watching is to see would it be able to come up to this upper range and possibly get some acceptance and push back up to this 525 area here and see would it be able to hold. Now, if it doesn't, and if it come back down, get rejected at this 510, then we're looking for this lower range to be in play and come down to this 490 area. Now, if you notice that there is a some high volume node here, so the next possible area of potential support could be the 480 area here for the QQQ. Now be sure to go check out my newsletter, The Pulse of the Market, at substack.com. I have a link in the description below, and you would also get a little bit more detailed analysis on the market itself. I cover the internals and the other indexes in this weekly analysis. So be sure to go check that out. And if you like the content in this video, be sure to smash the thumbs up to help promote this video on YouTube. And if you're new to this channel, click on the subscribe and subscribe to this YouTube channel to help support it. And also be sure to subscribe to my Substack newsletter. Thank you for watching and good luck on your trading.